Okay, so let's see. I have a little presentation that I want to do. So I know I just asked you to do something, but can you let me screen share too?
Okay, you're the host. You just have to unmute yourself. I somehow accidentally did that. That's my
Oh,
bad.
that's okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. So let's see here. Can you see that? Yes. Okay, perfect. Oh, I get started.
Hey, Sarah, before you start,
Yes.
before you start, I just have to tell you that I was going to eat pizza tonight, but because you were on this call, I'm eating my leftover on plan.
I'm so proud of you.
So you inspired
Oh,
me today.
thank you. I'm glad that you are sticking to it because that's how you're going to get results, right? So obviously, I think pretty much everybody on the call knows who I am. I'm Sarah Geer. I am an Ultimate Portion Fix Master Coach, as well as an ISSA Certified Personal Trainer and Nutritionist. So Ultimate Portion Fix, what is it? It's healthy, portion-controlled eating of whole foods that are minimally processed. It is not a diet, and it is not hard. So some things to remember when we're talking about the Ultimate Portion Fix. You need to shop the outer perimeter of the store. Okay, that's where your whole foods are going to be located. You need to choose fresh or frozen vegetables. I never do canned because they are canned with sodium and preservatives. We want to choose lean meats. So whether that's chicken, fish, pork, or beef, they should be lean. Fresh fruits, or in a pinch, you could use those canned in water. You never want to choose something that's like canned or like packed in syrup, because that just means that they've added sugar. Anything that you eat on the Ultimate Portion Fix should be less than 8 grams of sugar in any store-bought product. So that's per serving. So a lot of times, we don't always make our own. One that I really look at for this is like pasta sauce. So pasta sauce has a lot of times added sugars in it, which you want to stay away from. But sugars are actually naturally occurring in tomatoes. So you're going to see some sugar content in there, but you want to make sure that it's less than 8 grams per serving. We want to go with whole wheat or whole grain breads or pastas. And that's simply because whole grains are less processed than white. I know a lot of girls like the chickpea pasta as well, and that's fine too. Brown rice is best because brown rice is actually, it has the husk of the rice on it. So you're getting more fiber and has a higher nutritional content. It's going to keep you fuller longer. When we're talking store-bought products, you want to make sure that you have lower amounts of sodium. So for me, like when I think of this, one of the things I look for in the store is like, I like packet tuna because it's easy to just like rip the top and you've got a great protein. And so I always buy the lower sodium and lower. I usually like, a lot of times I'll compare when I'm in the store. Like I look at this one and look at this one and which one has the lowest amount of sodium. And then you want to make sure that the items that you buy still fit into the container portions. So I'm going to show you in another slide what those like figures are that are for each container. One of the other things I always think about is yogurt. So 2% milk, Greek yogurt. So it should be plain, nothing added, not I don't even buy the vanilla because a lot of times they add sugar to that with the vanilla. Plus, if you want vanilla Greek yogurt, you can buy vanilla extract and put it in there yourself. That way you're controlling it. And remember, not every food is on the list. This is a big one that a lot of people have been complaining about in the Portion Fix community recently, and that Autumn has spoken about, because, you know, that's today. Audrey had a question about the Hearts of Palm pasta, whether that's approved. It is approved. It's just not something that's on the list, because there's no possible way that the nutritionist could have gone through and picked every food to put on the list. We'd have pages upon pages upon pages. So this is something that I have a graphic that I keep on my phone under my favorites, so that if I'm in the store, I can make sure that I'm choosing something that's still going to fit into the container values. So our red container is proteins. It's 3/4 of a cup. It should be between 100 and 200 calories with 15 to 25 grams of protein. Green container is also 1 cup. That's for your vegetables, and that's between 30 and 50 calories. Now, I will recommend that you check out the food list, because what you think a vegetable is might not be what a vegetable is on the Ultimate Portion Fix. The majority of them are, but just check to make sure. Our yellow container is a 1/2 cup, and that's between 90 and 130 calories with 15 to 30 carbs. So that's something that I'm constantly looking at, because when I buy store-bought bread, my first rule of thumb is a whole grain or whole wheat should be the first ingredient. And then I want to make sure that I'm not the kind of person who's going to eat like 1 piece of bread, or, you know, like if I'm going to have bread, it's probably because I want to make a sandwich or something. So I want to make sure that I can have 2 pieces that's going to fit into that 90 and 130 calories and 15 to 30 carbs. So it's kind of like whatever you can get to work inside of that container is where you want to be. Our purple container is for fruits. It is 1 cup, should be between 50 and 100 calories. Now, when we're talking vegetables and fruits, they're really low in calories usually. So you're not going to have to be like, oh my gosh, how many calories are in Brussels sprouts? You don't have to do that. You just fill the container with the Brussels sprouts, right? So this graphic is more for things that you're going to buy at the store, or if you were actually counting macros. Blue container is 1/3 of a cup. It's between 100 and 160 calories and 8 to 16 grams of fat. That's where your cheeses fit in. And while I love avocado, cheese is my soulmate. So I oftentimes just fill that blue container with cheese. And I need to get better about that. And I have avocado sitting on the counter downstairs. So that's something that you definitely want to look at when you're buying cheese in the store, or something else that's going to fit into a blue container, almonds, things like that. Your orange container is typically what we think of for our dressings, seeds, and some of the nuts. And that's between 50 and 160 calories. So we have a wide range here, and that's because we're looking at sometimes vinegar-based dressings, which are going to be lower in calorie, versus seeds and some of the nuts that are going to be higher on the range. And that should be between 4 and 16 grams of fat. Again, I use mostly my orange container for dressings. And then you have your teaspoons, which are coveted in my world because that's where peanut butter fits in, and things like olive oil and coconut oil. So you want to look for something that's between 32 and 40 calories with 3 to 5 grams of fat per teaspoon. So a lot of times on nutritional labels, you'll see it says serving size 1 tablespoon. So there's 3 teaspoons in a tablespoon. So I just kind of do a quick math to figure out if what I'm actually eating fits. This is something else that I keep on my phone too. Salad dressings. So I don't always have time to make them, even though they're super easy. So if I go to the store to buy a salad dressing, I'm looking for something that's between 40 and 120 calories, less than 250 milligrams of sodium, less than 3 grams of sugar, and less than 12 grams of fat per 2 tablespoons serving. I know that Amanda loves the Skinny Girl dressings, and they're not too bad for you. They are lower in calories, so sometimes I have to wonder how they're getting them to be so low, but that's neither here nor there. So you want to take advantage of salt-free seasonings. That's how you're going to get the most flavor out of your food. You can either make them or you can buy them. I would just suggest that if you're buying them, you make sure that they don't have added sugar. A lot of times you'll see brown sugar put into seasonings. So you just want to make sure that it's sugar-free also. So you want to try to use natural sweeteners, things like honey, maple syrup, coconut sugar, and stevia. Stevia is a plant. It is natural. Some people even use monk fruit. So those are just good examples of natural sweeteners. We want to stay away from foods containing ingredients that you can't pronounce. So if you look at the label and it's something off the wall, polymonosorbate glycol, whatever, we don't want to eat that, because our whole point behind the Ultimate Portion Fix is to eat clean, healthy, portion-controlled food. So we want to stay away from processed or artificial sugars. Things like erythritol is a big one, especially in like sweets, like baking ingredients. An unsweetened cocoa powder is your friend. Use it, right? Like if you're craving something sweet, my go-to here recently has been coconut oil, cocoa powder, and a little bit of honey mixed together once the coconut oil is melted. And it's like eating a piece of chocolate. And it's something that's going to satisfy your craving for something sweet, but still keep you on track. There are Fix-approved recipes for just about everything. All you have to do is search. The Beachbody blog is to be used to your advantage. There's so many different things on there. You can look up recipes, you can look up different points about different programs and moves and things like that. And if you find a recipe that includes container counts, just make sure that it makes sense. So something I always think of when it comes to this is, if a recipe says that it's 4 servings, but it has 2 cups of cheese in it, that doesn't make sense, because your blue container, everyone gets 1 blue container a day, and that's 1/3 of a cup. So if you multiply 1/3 of a cup by 4, that's going to be 1 1/3 cups. So having 2 cups of cheese for a 4 serving recipe doesn't make sense. You're not going to fit within your containers for the day. And same thing goes, I do the same thing for proteins, but with proteins you can be a little bit easier because obviously you do get more of those a day. But for things like your blues and it's just not, it's not worth it to make that mistake, even though I'm sure I have done it before. So tell me what questions you have. Don't be afraid. Unmute yourself and just tell me so we can help. Okay, see you then. I'm just kidding.
Sarah,
So who is? Let's chat. Who has a question? Oh, let's see, Jennifer. So milks. So your milks, it's going to be a cup of almond milk, or you can use regular, like 2%. So it's a cup for a teaspoon. It used to be thought of that milks were part of the yellow container category. They are not now. They are part of the teaspoon category. So if you use a half of a cup of almond milk in your shake, totally fine. Just count it as a half. I think I said that right. Milk. Yeah, you're just going to count it as a teaspoon. Yes. Yep. That's right. Exactly right. Under the old portion fix, it was a yellow.
So I've always put 16 ounces of Shakeology.
So you use 16 ounces of almond milk in your Shakeology. So you just want to count it as 2 teaspoons then.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Almond milk's not going to break the bank with the ultimate portion fix. So it's not something that's terrible. Wanda, it just depends on, like, I do have one of the cookbooks, and sometimes it just makes it easy if you like have all the time. Every part to be online. Now, in some of the books, there are different recipes, but you're not going to know what those recipes are. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to know the difference. You can spend the money and buy them if you want. That's certainly up to you. I only have the one because it came with my ultimate portion fix pack that I got, but I probably would not have bought it myself. As far as I know, peanuts are still in the orange container. I haven't read anything different recently. Let me do a quick search for you. Not sure why it's not working on my phone. Oh, wait, here we go. I see that now. I don't typically eat peanuts by themselves, but let me look here and see if anybody has said anything. And this is a great reason for me why having the ultimate portion, like the monthly fix, is super helpful, because you get access to that portion fix community. And so you can somebody's always asking a question, so you can find out a lot of answers in there, because like I said, the nutritionists are in there and they do answer questions. Oh, gotcha. Oh, so Christina, you need to figure out what plan to follow. That's easy. So
Well, I do the calculation. But in April,
Okay.
like, I went really extreme and cut myself to 1,200 calories.
No.
So that I was seeing a nutritionist. So like I did this all nutrition, like, to help me get a jump start.
Mm-hmm.
But I already, even before then, I don't eat a lot. Like, I just don't. And it takes me a very long time to eat what food I do put on my plate. So like when I start do the calculation and then I start looking at everything, it's overwhelming, because I know
Right.
how little I eat. It's not even how much I eat, it's how little I eat.
So here's what I would suggest for me, and you can take this at face value, but if you don't have a problem with portion size, maybe, are you a vegetable lover? Do you love vegetables? Yay, nay, maybe?
Yeah,
so?
I mean,
then I would probably suggest you take a look into To Be Mindset, because it's the plate size.
Okay.
It's not going to be necessarily your portion size. And that's just a different way of eating, simply because there are a lot of women. And I know that Gina Sheets had this issue when she first started, was because her plate it was so much food, and she was like, I can't finish all these containers.
That's how I am.
I just
don't eat that
can't.
much.
And so she switched over to 2B, and she's done fabulous. I would start looking at it and see.
Yeah, because I keep looking at the containers and I keep trying to do it, and then I'm like, this is too much.
Yeah. I totally get that. And that's the great thing now about our challenge packs and completion packs having both nutrition plans in them, is that you can search. And
I did go on the 2B on the website and like looked at a week long, like it has the week menu plans on there. So I did look at that to see. So I've got that printed so I can like study it.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. Even if, nobody's going to say, hey, you have to follow the ultimate portion fix, you know what I mean? Or you have to follow To Be Mindset. Sometimes it's just not what works for you. Do the plans work? They work. But they don't work for everyone. Maybe, there are people who, like yourself, have a different way of eating. You're not like a quantity eater. So eating, 5 and 6 cups of vegetables a day, plus, all these proteins and the fruits and all the things.
And I'm not a fruit eater either, because it's just too much sugar
for you.
For me.
I get that. And so I get people both ways who are like, I'd rather have, Amy Dayton is one of them. She's like, oh, I'd rather eat vegetables all day long than have to eat fruit, because I'm just not a sweet kind of person. And that's fine. Sometimes you have to figure out what works. Two of the same color. Yes, Amanda, you can. So, Autumn will tell you that, we should space them out. However, for people who are in Plan C and higher, a lot of times I would say that's really the only place you would put more than one of the same color container together. If you're in Plan A and Plan B, I don't think that it's really necessary, because if you spread your meals out throughout the day, you're going to hit all of those containers. And I've done that with greens too, just making sure that I'm getting, 2 at this meal, because I know that if I eat 2 at this meal, then I'm going to be over full, and that's not what you want. Yep. That's absolutely right, Jennifer. Yeah, I was just looking up, I see your comment above about the peanuts being a blue container now. Yeah, they did change that, because when I first started, it was not. It was an orange for peanuts, which I don't like just grab a handful of peanuts. That's not my style, but to each their own, right? Let's see here. And they are always updating the list. So that's another good reason to make sure that you check it every so often. Obviously, I didn't look at the orange containers because I usually use it for dressings or coconut. So people on the go, this is going to be meal prep. Meal prep 100% is how you're going to be able to stick to your plan. Even if it's like cut up vegetables, or, having your fruits already cut so that you can literally grab them and go. That's what I do for myself on Sundays is I meal prep, whether it's chopping vegetables or fruit or whatever, and making sure that I have everything set, and then I can just throw it in my lunch bag in the morning and out the door, and I know that I'm set. And as long as I eat exactly what I have taken with me, then I'm fine. So I know that a lot of women, not just women, that work in jobs where they don't get breaks very often. Shout out to the healthcare workers and the teachers, because this happens to them. You know, it does make it difficult. So having small things that you can, you know, like put in your pocket. I know a lot of women have done that where they just like kind of like dip into their pocket when they get a chance. COVID obviously is making things a little bit different, but yes, Beth, I do that too. I will find a recipe that's like 4 servings typically, or 6, and then I freeze 2 to have later if I'm like, you know, 1 week, you know, your bank account might be like, nah, girl, you ain't eating fresh this week. That way you've got something already. So if you're making something that has 6 servings and you only need 4 or 5 or whatever. Yes, beach bars. They're amazing. I love them. What's your favorite flavor? Mine's chocolate peanut butter. Yes, girl. And I like to put peanut butter on top. It's like eating Reese's. They're so amazing. Those are counted as a half of a yellow and a half of a red with a teaspoon. If you add peanut butter to the top, you do add an extra teaspoon or whatever you're using. Oh yeah, Shakeology balls. Yeah. How do you count your Shakeology balls, Farron? Do you count them on the portion fix?
I do not.
Yeah.
So, ever since I've ever done them, you know, because I've always like had them as my like. I started, you know, Shakeology balls when I was like sucking at food, and so I was like, well, this is healthy. So it was like my like if I feel like I needed something at night, but usually so because they have. I mean, if I do, it's like the you know I guess like a I don't know like a part of a blue and a part of a red and a so
Yeah,
like
I would imagine that they would be hard to count on the portion fix, but
yeah
it's kind of like you said, you're getting all the goods from Shakeology. You're getting oats, right? Because you put oats in yours. So you're getting a healthy carb. So those moments where you're like, okay, it's either eat this Shakeology ball or I'm going to binge on Oreos. So sometimes you have to weigh your options. Yeah, Beth, that doesn't surprise me. Every time you make something.
I know
You're always
and
on
my kids really like them Beth like you know and it's crazy because I feel so good that they love them like they're like tonight they're like can we have another one and I'm like yeah eat away like this is like putting little veggies in their body and they have no idea.
Yeah, well, he's 16 and he eats everything.
I will say that if you are on a plan, and Amanda Radowski and I had just talked about this, if you are on a plan and you're like, oh my gosh, I am still hungry, like not like me, I'm hungry, you know, but like I'm hangry. Okay. So you always want to start with a green container first and then wait after you've eaten that 15 to 20 minutes. And if you're still hangry, like then you can have a protein. But you don't want to do that more than 2 to 3 times a week either, because if you do, then your body's telling you that you're not in the right plan. Oh, vanilla. There's all sorts of recipes. Beachbody blog has a ton of them. I'm not a big Shakeology ball person. Oh, chocolate chip cookie dough ones. See, all the titles sound amazing to me, but I just can't get past the texture. So of it like that. Yeah, those sound so good though. That's the thing. You have to like sometimes be like, ooh, wait, I can have something that's like chocolate chip cookie dough, but it's healthy for me. Yeah, that would be awesome. There's something.
Sarah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Just a couple. So the first one is when you have the shake, are they all the same containers, or if you add fruit, it makes you just add a container for your fruit? Like,
Yep.
how does the shake work when you're counting the shakes?
So Shakeology itself is just a red container. If you
Okay.
add almond milk to it, you're going to add the teaspoon. If
Okay.
you add a banana or some type of fruit to it, you'll add a purple.
Purple. Okay.
Was it you? It was somebody told me that they put oatmeal in theirs, and then you would just count that as a yellow. Like, you know, I mean, whatever you put in extra besides the Shakeology
Okay.
and water, you're going to count.
Now, what about if you use that PB2 peanut butter? How do you count that? Like, if I just, because I usually just do like a, like a tablespoon or whatever,
Yep. So I will tell you this, that PB2 is ultra processed.
Okay.
A lot of people love PB2 and that's cool.
Yeah.
But it is processed because all of the fats are taken out of it, all of the oil,
Okay.
all of the everything to make it into a powder.
Okay. So what do you
don't
recommend to
particularly,
use if you want peanut butter?
yeah,
Just real peanut butter?
yeah.
Okay.
But you can't, like, if you're trying to just use the rest of your PB2, or
Yeah.
maybe that's what you love is PB2,
Mhm.
and that's the only thing you eat that's processed, really, go
Okay.
for it.
Okay.
But the whole point is having the healthy fats that are in peanuts, if you
Okay.
or in nuts, like nut butters.
So is that like almond butter and all too?
Yeah. Mhm.
I mean, is all that still good too to use if you want? Okay.
Yeah, natural almond butters or peanut butters, sunflower butters.
Okay.
Yeah, those are all fine. Just like,
Plus, I have another question. Like, if you do like a stuffed peppers, like I'll do stuffed peppers with brown rice, and I'll do turkey sometime. But we have our own beef cattle, so I just do my own beef usually. But so how do you count that in your containers? Like, I usually do like a half a pepper. Like, I make them as half, not whole.
oh, okay.
Because I'm really not sure how to portion them. I usually just do a half. So, like, how do you portion your, like, rice, like, that kind of stuff? Because everything's so mixed together.
So here's what I do.
Okay. Because some things are not so portionless,
Yeah.
like.
When you're making something like that, I will take, like, I use a whole pepper as one green. Okay.
Oh, right. Okay.
And then I actually, when I'm making the filling, so I'll use like a pound of meat, and then I'm not afraid to whip out something else and measure out rice. Like, rice is it expands. So you measure like a cup and you end up with 2 cups.
Right.
So, like, I'll just take, if the recipe is like, oh, you need a cup of uncooked rice, then I figure it out, like how many of the yellow containers that's going to give me.
Okay.
And I can help walk you through this, when I can actually sit down and do the calculations and the measurements.
Yeah, that's fine. I just never know what to pick. Like, I have it for, usually I do meal prep, like something like that for lunch sometimes. So I take it every day for the 5 days or whatever. So,
but they're really easy. And that's something that I actually do a lot. I'm like, okay, well, if it's this, then I need to make sure that my yellow container, like, it's going to be a yellow for each serving, not just the whole thing. So
right, because when you cook it all together, I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to weigh this out.
Yep. No, I'll figure that out for you, and I'll send it to you. I just, like, right now,
that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, you are cool because you have your own cattle. I mean, that's pretty neat.
So we have our own fresh eggs and own beef cattle. So it
That's
makes
sweet.
things very nice.
Yes, I love fresh eggs. They're
I
the
love
best.
eggs. Yeah.
Um, Jennifer, you switch out macadamia nuts for almonds in that recipe. Sometimes cashew butter. Ooh, fancy. You're fancy.
Mm.
I'm terrible. This is my, so I don't like nut butters that are just like sloppy. Like, I don't know, it's something about the texture for me. So I tend to go like with a lower sugar, natural, no stir peanut butter, but I have an addiction to peanut butter. So I like try to stay away from it for the most part now because I was overeating on it. Sometimes you just have to kind of know like what your trigger foods are. And for me, that's peanut butter. Yeah, Amanda, somebody else who has a farm. She, you raise chickens for meat, so you don't get your own, but you don't get your own chicken. Yeah. Yeah, Emily's produce is very good. Yeah, they have a lot of fresh stuff. Chicken tender. You're a chicken tender, Amanda. So cute.
Jeff is.
Yeah, Jeff is. Yeah, we saw that video. Yeah, I know. Bless. There's a fix. Oh, I'm like scrolling back through the comments. There's a fixate recipe for energy balls, Beth, that doesn't use Shakeology. Yeah, I saw some ones that are like bar form, and I will actually probably are on quarantine now. But I will probably like make some of like our own granola bars for the kids. I don't typically eat them. I just went down in my plan. And so I'm like holding on to my coveted carbs. And if I treat swap, then I want to be able to have that. So if you've ever heard me talk or ever seen me post anything about somebody, like just treat swap it and go. A treat swap is where you take a yellow container and instead of eating something that's on the list, you swap it out for something else. Like let's say you want to eat a donut. Okay. I love donuts. If I have a donut, I'm going to take one yellow container away from what I eat in the day. That's a treat swap. You can do it 2 to 3 times a week. Autumn doesn't suggest any more than that. Now, a treat swap could also be wine, beer, liquor. And there are certain amounts that you can have and still consider it a treat swap. But with that, I also think that you have to enjoy life. You have to enjoy food because if you don't, then you're going to have an unhealthy relationship with it and you're not going to want to continue, right? If I sat here and told you, no, Wanda, you can never have wine again if you're a wine lover, or you can never have cake again, you're going to be like, Sarah, go kick rocks because that's never going to happen. So sometimes you just live your life and then you move on the next day. Like it's totally fine. Yeah, cake for Jeff's birthday. You only had a small piece, right, Amanda? I remember you saying that you just had a small piece and then you were done.
And I remember Farron when I started doing this, like it was a long time ago, but like 3.5 years ago, I remember something Farron said in one of our groups. Well, don't be surprised, Farron. It stuck with me. She's like, if I am gonna spend a yellow on a treat, it's not gonna be like those nasty store-bought cookies. It's gonna be like my grandma's homemade chicken and dumplings, and I'm going to enjoy it, and then I'm going to move on the next day. Like, I always just think, is it worth it? And I only buy ice cream cakes when we have a birthday, and we've been home for the last forever, and I'm like, I'm going to get Jeff an ice cream cake, even though he doesn't like them. I don't really care. Like we're gonna celebrate Jeff's birthday. And the kids have eaten all the cake, so I'm not even tempted anymore because piece. That ice cream cake's totally worth it to me. That wasn't that bad, Farron.
Yeah, see?
I know. I always say, never sacrifice a healthy mindset for a healthy body. So, I mean, you should have both. I mean, like, healthy body, but like never like, I remember, you hear about people being on like, I mean, like Weight Watchers. I mean, I guess any other like fit, health thing. And it was like guilt for like, oh no, you can't, it's your kid's birthday, you can't eat. And I was like, the hell with that. Like, that's not a healthy mindset ever to be like that, and if it's my son's birthday, and I always think of what my kids watch me do. Like if they offer me like, Mom, here's a piece of chocolate, I'll never say like, no, I can't eat that. Like, I mean, right now I'm doing 9-week control freak, and if I really don't want it, then I'll be like, oh, thanks, I'll still take it, and I'll pretend to eat it, and I'll whatever. But they'll never hear me say I can't eat that, like, and I'm just
You're
like,
so nice. You are the best mom ever. I usually say when my kids say, "Oh, Mom, do you want a bite?" I'm like, "No, I'm on my grind. I cannot right
I'm
now.
on my grind."
I'm on my grind." And they know, Trevor knows, like he knows. But he also knows, okay, that Mom will find a recipe for something that we love that's and turn it and make it healthy. Like they know that that is one of the things I love, to take something that we consider a comfort food and turn it into something healthy, because then I never feel like I'm giving up. Like people are out here and they're like, I only eat broccoli and chicken. Not me, sis. I'm over here eating all the good stuff because I want right. Like food makes us happy, right? Like, I mean, if it didn't make us happy, we probably wouldn't be here. But you see it, and you smell it, and you taste it. So it has to look good, and it has to be seasoned good for you to be like, heck yes, I just ate an amazing meal. We did that over the weekend. We had steak and we had butternut squash mac and cheese. Now, I was over the moon about this mac and cheese because it was legit. And nobody else in my family liked it. So I said, oh, good. Next time I make it, y'all won't get any. And we had broccoli with it that night. And then I had chocolate fondue. Hello, healthy chocolate fondue. Like that's my kind of thing, because, I can still eat like I'm a rock star, but it fits into my plan. So I'm just that kind of person where I never want to be bored with food. And if I'm bored, then I typically am like, I could really eat a donut or something.
You all should have seen me today. This old lady walked in our pharmacy and she hands me a box of Dunkin' Donuts. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, what are the donuts for? She's like, Happy Pharmacist Day. And I'm like, I'm not a pharmacist. She's like, no, they're for the whole entire pharmacy. I'm like, sad face, I can't have a donut.
But you could have a donut. You chose not to, right? Like you chose that. And
yeah, I chose not to do it.
yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like I bought my youngest a donut the other day because it was his treat for doing well at school. And he's like, oh, you didn't get one? No, I didn't get one. And I'm totally fine with that. Like I have to really want something
I
in
was
order
so
to eat it.
tempted.
But it's all good. Like if you wanted that donut, and so I think of it like this: if you want that donut and that donut is all you're going to think about, okay, eat the freaking donut and get over it. Like you have it and then you're done and then you move on. Okay. Even if I if that's all I'm going to be able to think about, it's the kind of person that I am, right? Like once something gets into my head, I will not stop until I have it. And So if that's all I'm going to think about, then I'm going to eat the damn donut and I'm going to move on. So if you ever get to that point, you should have eaten the donut, because is that all you're thinking about? I mean, I know it doesn't help because we're talking about it, but like, if that's the case, then just do it. And that's, I'm not sure what program you're doing, but if you're doing 9-week Control Freak, are you doing
Yes,
9-week? So that's something that Autumn has said. She called you like, ooh, these so good. Yeah, they're good. I haven't tasted one yet. Autumn is telling us, right? Like, you are in control. So if you want to eat something and it's not on your plan, eat it, move on, have no guilt. Now, with that, you can't expect to eat the donut every day
right.
and still be in control and get the results you want. So I'm that person that I fixate on something until I get it. I can remember I told it. For me at that time, it was chef ravioli cold right out of the can. So I didn't have to worry about the
Uh-oh, we're frozen.
now I can't even think about that. Like, do I have a cheat day? I am trying very hard not to, simply because I'm trying to maintain control of my mindset too. But I typically don't do a whole day of cheat. I will do, and honestly, we shouldn't call it cheat. Let's call it treat, right? Because we're treating ourselves to something. I have a treat meal, because then I know that on my next meal, I'm back on my plan. So if I do it, it might be once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks. It really just depends on what works for you. Like, if you're going out with friends and you guys are going to eat Mexican and you love the chips, but you only get Mexican every 6 months, eat the chips, eat the guac, like, enjoy yourself. And that's a big part of our 80-20, right? We always talk about our nutrition plan being 80% healthy and 20% whatever, yummy, delicious, naughty, bad, whatever you want to call it. Try treat meal instead of a cheat. You'll feel a lot less guilt about it. Hi, Brittany. So a picky eater, here's what, a picky eater, you need to make sure that you're drinking Shakeology or eating Shake. It's going to get you a lot of your, and that's something we have always said, is that you hate vegetables, you need to eat Shakeology. Other than that, you need to find recipes that and your plan. If you can do Shakeology and use a scoop of Power Greens in it, then look, you've just satisfied a big portion of what we would consider for your vegetables. A plateau, you need to make sure that you're tracking every dang thing that goes into your mouth. Everything. Like, write it down. Something that I have recently started doing over the course of the last month is not to fixate on my weight, but I weigh myself every day to see how different foods are affecting me. So maybe today I had this, but I've retained a lot of water from eating XYZ that day. So it's more for me to track trends and see how what I'm eating is actually affecting my weight. But definitely tracking everything that goes into your mouth. That's first and foremost. Yeah, a treat meal after phase 1. That's a good idea. Sensitivity to cocoa, and you love chocolate. Oh, it's in the cafe latte too. Oh, I didn't realize that. Gosh. And is that what you usually drink? Cafe latte? Because I don't, I mean, the only thing you could do is go
Yeah,
Is it
I
like a
drink.
sensitivity that really bothers you? Like, what kind of
I
sensitivity
have,
is it? What does it do to you?
I'm not 100% sure. I have a sensitivity to a lot of things. I get migraines and stuff. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I've been trying to figure out like what causes them and
Is
what
that because
causes.
of the caffeine in it?
I don't think so. I don't think it's the
Mhm.
caffeine. I think I just have a sensitivity to it. But I just switched it to vanilla, so my next order will be vanilla.
Hmm. Okay.
It wasn't
Yeah.
really a question. It was just kind of, geez, there it is, cocoa.
Yeah. I didn't realize that in the cafe latte too. I
Yeah, thought I would
wouldn't.
say, and I've been
No,
drinking
I
it
would
all.
have expected it if it's like a mocha. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, but it's in there.
Interesting. That kind of stinks. um,
That was
yeah,
good.
the 3-day refresh helped you with your plateau, Amanda. Yes, it did. That's a good point. Oh, so every time you're weighing yourself, you might be in a different place. So when you weigh yourself, here's what I suggest. You weigh yourself first thing in the morning when you get up after you have peed and while you are naked, because nobody needs to have this Apple Watch like weighing them down or your shirt weighing you down, okay? Because it matters to me. That like 0.2 whatever might change my mindset. And I always put my scale in the same spot. That way I know that it's like level and in the same place every day. And the scale at the doctor's office is always going to be different than what your scale shows at home. It's just the difference in scales and the way they're calibrated. So don't like get upset, because I remember when I first went to see my primary after I had lost like 45 pounds and his scale said that I had only lost like 35. I'm like, nah, dude, according to my scale at home, which I weigh myself on every day, I've lost 45 pounds. And he's like, all right, I'll take it. Like, we'll just change it. I'm like, good. I'm like, I'm on top of this. But you don't have to fix it. Here's why I weigh every day is to follow a trend on what I'm eating. Nobody else has to do that. That's simply just me. You know, does everybody live in the same house that's doing your challenge? No, then I wouldn't worry about it because it's what they're going to weigh on their scale. I wouldn't. I mean, because Amanda, she doesn't away from me, but she's not going to come over to my house and weigh herself on my scale just because. So no, don't worry about it. I wouldn't focus too much on that. But that's kind of cool that you're doing a challenge with your mom and a few other people. That's amazing. You're inspiring them.
So Sarah, with the weight, like when you're, because when you're working out with weights and stuff, you gain muscle. How do you determine all that? Like if you may not lose, you may be maintaining, but if you're gaining muscle weight, how does that all weigh out?
Sure. So, we've always heard in the past, oh, muscle weighs more than fat. No, it doesn't. A pound is a pound. Okay.
Right.
So it does, like, one of the ways that you can tell is, and it's still not exact, is to get a body fat scale. And that's what I
Right.
just got. And because it actually, you put information in like your height and your age and all of that, and it kind of like calculates it based upon your weight. And it's more going to be about how you feel and how you perceive yourself. So
I mean, because I know I've lost, but like I know I'm losing like inches, and I can feel, of course, with my legs and stuff, the trimming. I know they're not like they were. You know what I
I'll
mean?
never lie.
But
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And that's why we tell you before, after weight and measurements. Like it all kind of goes hand in hand, because you might not think, okay, first 2 weeks of 9-week control freak, I lost 0 weight, but I lost inches. And for me, that was awesome. And then in my 3rd week, I lost weight and I like stayed steady on my inches. So it's, it's all relative. And if you feel good, that's what matters.
Matters,
It's kind of like when I did 80 day.
Yeah.
I started 80 day at 180 pounds. I only lost like, I think 10 pounds or something. I was a size 16. All I know is I'm a size 6. And I didn't really lose much weight. I think I gained a lot of muscle and lost like a lot of fat at the same time. But yeah, I went from a size 16 to a size 6. So I dropped all those pant sizes, and I didn't even finish the program. I only got to day 63, and then I don't know what happened.
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah,
So
but that's just it, you know,
Weird.
when that scale doesn't define you. And for people, and believe me, I totally get it. And I had to really understand this myself, because I was 245 pounds when I started. Okay. And it was huge for me to be like, oh my gosh, I've lost 10 pounds, you know? So, but now I understand that the way I feel, how I perceive myself,
Mhm.
and when I'm fitting into clothes that I haven't worn in years, or I'm buying a smaller size, that's all I care about.
Yeah.
I mean, losing weight is great, but how you feel and how you perceive yourself is way
Mhm.
more than anything else. Yeah, definitely. Like, people look at me now and you would never guess. You know, if you see my pictures or you see my videos,
Mhm.
I weigh 195 pounds and I'm not ashamed of it. You know, it is what it is. I'm strong, I'm muscular, I wear a size medium shirt, a size
Mhm.
8 pant. Like, I don't, you know, it is what it is. And I'm cool with that.
Mhm.
And I love myself. And
That's what
I
matters.
didn't at 245 pounds. So, um, you know, that all comes from just focus and determination. And that's, a lot of people will say, oh, the ultimate portion fix is hard. It's this, it's that. No, it's not. I'm just telling you now how much of each thing you can eat. And whereas before you didn't
Mhm.
really give it any thought, you
Yeah.
just kind of put onto your plate and ate. It's all about loving yourself and really focusing. Yeah. Believe me, I can remember, like, there's no shame in my game. Okay. I have no problem telling someone how much I weighed and how much I weigh now. I would never have done that before. Never. Okay. Oh my God, the thought of it. Ill. Now I'm like, I don't, because that is what's going to inspire someone else. Okay. You
Mhm.
look at me and you see me and you're like, I do this to people all the time. Like, how much do you think I weigh? Like, how much, you know,
Mhm.
or whatever. And they tell me something. I'm like, actually, no, I weigh this amount, but I am strong and I am muscular. And that's what I want. Um, yeah, you just container's house. And there's your cat. Yeah, you have to make sure that you eat enough, right? Because what happens when people don't eat is your body is like freak out mode because you're not giving it enough to survive. That's why when you calculate, you're going to see like that first calculation, your weight times 11, right? That's your baseline. That's what you should, like, if you weren't doing anything, that's what you should be eating every day. But if you're working out, that's why we add 400 to it, right? And then subtract 750 so that we are getting into a caloric deficit so that you're putting yourself into fat loss, weight loss mode. And the number 400 comes from moderate exercise. Um, you feel like you ate a lot yesterday, and she was looking at you like, girl, that's not too much. I feel like I read that in your voice, like, girl, that's not too much. But yeah, I mean, people look at what we eat and the quantity, and I think that they're always surprised because they don't think that you can lose weight and eat that amount of food. I'm glad to make somebody laugh. Who has other questions for me? Anything? I mean, I'm an open book. I'll tell you whatever I know. So it's actually in, if you go into the nutrition section on Beachbody On Demand, it should be in there. But I always refer back to the 21 Day Fix real-time program materials because it is in there. I obviously, because I do this, I have it memorized. So it's like, it comes second nature to me, but it is in the program materials and in the nutrition section. App on your phone, the 21 Day Fix app, or the Nutrition Plus app. 21 Day Fix will actually calculate it for you. Kick the cravings, goodbye when everyone else around you still eats unhealthy. It's willpower. I honestly believe that. And that's another reason why in my home, I make recipes that are similar to things that they know and love so that I can trick them into eating healthy too. Just don't tell them that, please. A whole wheat, whole grain tortilla, the ones you grabbed today, have 22 grams of carbs. It depends on where you live and what grocery stores you shop in. I will tell you that I constantly, like if I'm going to buy something like that, I'm looking at the label of every product that's on the shelf to see which one is the best for me. I recently kind of like redeveloped a love for pita bread, and Joseph's, they have it in our Aldi sometimes, but they have it at Food Lion too. And it's like a whole one, because a lot of times the serving size is a half. A whole one actually fits into a yellow container, and that's whole wheat, and it's nice and clean. But just trying to find one that's like going to fit. And sometimes you have to utilize the internet and search that way, and you may have to order something online. It just depends. I can't really, it depends on what brands you have at your store. So when I go to Subway, I don't usually, but I would definitely order a salad. I know Amanda loves to do like a cheesesteak salad, and then she doesn't need any dressing because of the like juices or whatever. But like if you're going to enjoy the bread, I think one of the groups that I'm in said if you eat like 3 inches of the whole wheat, they count that as a yellow, and then you just like eat the vegetables and everything off of the other part. But I would always suggest eating a salad if you had to go that route. Unless you're going to use it as a treat swap, eat it and then get over it. Yeah. I actually don't like, if I love Chick-fil-A. And so the other day I had a Chick-fil-A salad, and I haven't had fast food in quite some time, but I was like, oh my God, this salad is so good. I don't ever use dressing on salads like that anymore. I only use dressings usually that I make or that fit my counts that I showed you guys earlier. Even like the balsamic ones that you get out, I don't, I don't read the label on them, and I just find that I feel so much better if I don't use like a pre-made dressing that's out of a packet. Lemon on your salads, that's a good idea, yeah. Anyone else have any questions for me? I am always available if anybody has questions. I never mind answering something for you, but understand that if you ask me and it doesn't fit in the containers, or it's something that's, it's impossible to containerize, I'm going to tell you that. I'm not going to lie to you because I want you to get results. So spaghetti squash is amazing. So it depends on the size. Usually it's the smaller, like a small spaghetti squash. Half of it is equal to a green, I think. But I usually count, like if I have a spaghetti squash and I like to roast mine, then I count a whole half as 2 greens. It's low in calories anyway, so even if it's a little bit more, it's not going to hurt you. I don't think that you can really overeat on vegetables and have a negative effect. So it shouldn't bother you. Oh, you're welcome. I'm full of information, and I can be honest. I mean, Farron's my coach, and in the beginning, I was just like, I needed to know all the things, and like, how am I going to? Because look, my family's not going to go for chicken and brown rice every day, so I needed to make something out of this that I would be able to stick with, and that my family would be okay with. So it's simply just taking the time to plan, prep, and then you're ready for the week. I am this month doing meal planning sessions on Friday nights with my group, but anybody is welcome to it. And I'll send the link out to all the coaches, but it's just kind of helpful if like you're like, oh, I don't know what I want, like I need a recipe that's going to fit a red, a green, and a yellow, but I'm not sure, there might be somebody else who has an idea for you. So you're always welcome to it. And again, I'm always available if you have questions or you need something. Just feel free to message me. Or you can, if you're a coach, post it in the coach group or have your coach contact me. That would be awesome. You guys are so welcome. I've loved all these questions and really just getting to share my wealth of knowledge with you. So if nobody else has any questions, well, good for tonight. And if you ever want to, this was recorded, so it'll be posted with the coaches. And if you want to do another call later in the month, I'm more than willing to do that for you too. So just let me know if you have questions and if you need anything, and just make every day count. So I hope that you guys have a good night and that you are planning and so all right, you guys have
Thank
a good
you.
one.
Good night.
See you in the morning.
Thank you guys.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Good night.